Hi, I'm Coleen Sews and Chats. Welcome to the Holiday Hop 2022 with my friends Melissa at Practically Creative and Sylvia at You and Me FPP. Let's get our fabrics and get going. This is actually not batting. This is a old polyester scratchy blanket that I've been cutting up and using for whatever I can. It's going to go in the coasters just to help protect the furniture a little bit. This is insulBrite. I need 4 5-inch square blocks of each of these. Light and medium fabrics, 1 7 3/4 inch each. This is my light. And you can see I'm lining up my ruler on the 7 3/4. You might notice that was a little glitch. That's because I forgot to push record. So that's one for this round. We really need to have a game using that. Maybe it'll break me of not pushing record, but I doubt it. And this piece is also 7 3/4. We're going to set up for the 8 at a time HSTs. Sorry about the blurry camera. It has a mind of its own. Sometimes it travels. So I just put an X corner to corner on the light fabrics, putting right sides together of my light and medium 7 3/4 inch squares. And you can do this with 2 6 3/4 inch squares, but I like to trim mine down, so I did the 7 3/4. And of your dark fabrics, I'm using a 10-inch layer cake. We need 8 3-inch squares. So I was just cutting 3 inches across, then subcutting them. For the backing of the coasters, I need 4 5-inch squares from my medium fabrics. And I'm using yardage. So cutting off smaller pieces are easier to handle. Lining up on the 5-inch lines on my rulers. These are Missouri Star rulers. And by the way, that was a friction pin that I used to write on my fabrics. Take your medium 5-inch fabrics, pretty side down, then batting, then insulBrite. Do this 4 times. Put these all aside for later. And we're going to get to the sewing. We're going to start sewing our 8 at a time HSTs. Sew 1/4 inch on either side of that line. And do it both directions. Yes, I'm using a chopstick. My knot stiletto kept poking a hole in my fabrics, and we don't want that. I can adapt, and now I'm cutting them. There are 8 cuts. Pressing my half square triangles that I just made. Nothing fancy here. Try not to stretch them because these are all bias cuts, which means they are very stretchy. Be careful. And I'm going to square these up to 3 inches using the diagonal line on my square ruler. There is a little bit of waste this way. I'm not so confident that I think my 3-inch squares are going to come out perfect if I use the smaller starting squares, so this works for me. If you have a better way, feel free to do it. No quilt police here, and I'm not going to come over and judge yours. I couldn't if I wanted to, really. I don't do that. And now I'm going to use my gel pen because it was handy and I'm lazy. Don't tell anybody. It's a well-kept secret. To mark corner to corner on all of my dark 3-inch square fabrics. This is relatively fast. And now I'm going to set these up to sew. I'm putting the diagonal opposite the way the HST is. And doing this with all of them. So I can take them over to the sewing machine. So now we have 8 of these set up. And I'm going to double check the last one because I don't trust myself. Now we're going to do 2 at a time HSTs, basically, which means we're going to sew on one side of that line we just drew. This could go faster, huh? I have no jokes to insert here. It's going to be that kind of day. I hope everybody's having a wonderful time. And you've stopped and seen my friends on the holiday hop. Now we're sewing the other side of these HSTs. And in case I didn't mention it, which I know I did, but I'm going to again because I'm like that, Melissa, Practically Creative, is hosting this hop, and Sylvia at You and Me FPP is also participating. There is a list of the days at the end of this video. Stick around for it. Now I'm cutting these on the line we drew, and I'm keeping them separated. There's actually a reason for this. It's kind of methodical. If you pay attention, you're not going to have any trouble. And I'm pressing them back. One stack at a time, because we had 2 stacks from when we separated them, cut them apart. And I decided this time I'd try setting the seam. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Again, no quilt police, and we're not going to tell them because we like one another. Yeah, I need sleep or coffee, I don't know. And you can see that these are actually opposite each other. One has the gray and the white on one side, the other ones do on the opposite side. And all these dog ears get to be trimmed off. I'm not squaring these up. I'm trusting that I did it right. If you need to square them up, I don't know what to tell you because I didn't square them up. They should be 3 inches, I believe. Oh no, it's a little under 3 inches. And I'm playing with the jigsaw puzzle. I went all the gray fabrics that I had inside, touching. And when we get all of these basically pinwheels set up, we'll go back over the sewing machine and sew them. And they do nest on one end. You'll find that the ends nest there where your seam is. You can pin them, you can clip them. I trusted myself, which you'll see later. Probably wasn't the best idea, but I'm just not that picky. I'm pressing to the dark, which means one side will go to the left, one side will go to the right. When I go to put these together, I'm laying them back out so I can keep track of what they're doing. And you might have to slow down and pause this if you're wanting to make these too. I have them all set back on my design board after I press them, and now I'm going to pin them to make the windmills. Watching my stitches right there, making sure I get at the points so I don't lose the points. I'm putting my clips in far enough away that I don't have to take them out. When I'm going through the sewing machine, I just leave those clips on the ends. The only thing I'm removing is that pin that's helping me keep that center point. Now I did do one of these blocks on my live about I don't know, I think it was the 1st of November, last of November. I'm just guessing here. If I can find it, I'll put it in below. It'll show this much better and easier to follow, in my opinion. But I just wanted to show you, you can do 4 at a time. Fairly quick, fairly easy, fast gift for someone else or yourself. I know we usually do for everyone else. And now I'm pressing them all open using some best press to help get that back. And these are all 5 inches. Now I'm putting those on top of the sandwiches we made earlier with the backing fabric, the batting, and the insulBrite. Lining up my edges. Not showing you very well. I'm not a good host. I hide things from you. Now you're dying to know what it is that I'm hiding. I'm joking. Getting all these corners pinned so I have less shifting. There is going to be shifting because I'm not using my walking foot. I get crazy and decide to try decorative stitches at random times. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And here I'm testing those stitches. You can see the blue a little bit on the other side. Sometimes washing will get that in, so I'm not terribly concerned about that. It's not terrible. I can live with it. This is just one way that I'm showing you can kind of a quilt as you go technique. Quilt these down. I'm using the decorative stitch on this one. And look at that, I'm sneaky. I don't want you to see what it looks like on the back. No, I'm kidding. I was just trying to trim this video down to a reasonable amount of time for a pre-record. And now I'm just going straight across with that decorative stitch the other way. And I'm just doing a straight stitch, kind of stitch in the ditch, but I'm staying on the blue because I have blue thread in the top. Doing that in a cross motion. And decided that I'm going to do all of them with that cross motion. Just a stitch in the ditch. Beside the ditch, I'm not very good at stitch in the ditch, so it works for me. Chain piecing all of these so it goes a little bit faster. And I'm trying a decorative stitch to finish that first one up that we had. I did it on one and decided I didn't want to do it on the rest. I didn't like how the back came out. But this is staying with me, so it's just an idea. You can do little coasters. Everyone wants to make mug rugs, and that's great if you use mug rugs. We don't, and I don't know anybody who does. And this is just the straight stitch corner to corner. Now we're going to trim these down to 4 3/4 inch square. I'm using my diagonal line on my ruler corner to corner just like you would HSTs. And in case you haven't noticed, perfection really isn't needed. They still come out very pretty. And unless you have a very critical eye, I think it works. I don't. I should probably be very thankful for that. Now all 4 of these are squared up. It's time to get the binding. This is 2.5 inch strips. This was not a good choice. You may notice that as a theme in some of my videos too. I should have done 2 inches, maybe 1.5. If you've done this for a while, do what you're comfortable with. And I'm just showing the way I'll put the binding on. because I know it's hard to see over at my sewing machine. I do my best, but hands are necessary to use, and well, there's no fancy camera holders around here. And that's how I do my corners. Here you'll notice I have the ruler and the pencil. I mark the 1/4 inch from the end. I'm just no good at hitting that unless I have it marked. Too far, not far enough. When I mark it, every time I hit it. So you'll see me using that pencil and that ruler a lot. And then I sew off at an angle. Marking my 1/4 inch, get to the 1/4 inch and sew off at an angle, pull it out, flip my fabric back to get that mitered corner, and I use my knot seam ripper, which is now a mitered corner helper. It needs more jobs, to fold it over on. Something about that, it just works perfect. It keeps everything from moving on me. I'm moving the tail, folding that over a little bit to cover up that raw edge. I wasn't sure how I was going to do this when I started. Then tucking in that other side. You may know a better way to do this. I'm back stitching when I start the binding. You want the raw edges pointing to the outside, not the inside. Don't ask who did that once. The day that I was doing these, yeah, I did. And that's why I needed 3 widths of fabric binding. Probably could get away with 2. I did not measure it. Marking my edge. Pull the binding back, flip it back over. Put my presser foot down, but back stitch a little bit. I don't know that that's necessary. That's what I was doing. And I'm moving that other tail out of the way, so I decided to clip it to keep it out of the way so I don't actually accidentally catch it. Stop there, cut my tail off so I can fold the pieces over and tuck it into this other piece. Could have done a better job of showing that. I am a terrible teacher, but I am great company most of the time. Okay, I think, what number were I lost count. This is either number 3 or number 4. I'm going to go with 3. Sewing off, pull the fabric back, get that mitered corner. Sewing off the edge. Pull the binding back using my knot stiletto, now mitered corner helper. And I'm leaving myself enough room when I come around these corners that I can tuck my fabric into that other piece of binding. And I think it may lay better had I cut it at an angle on the edge. But this worked. Just tucked it and went over it. And there's the edges. And here is where I discover that I don't like how much extra fabric I have on this 2.5 inch binding, and I'm making it work. Because I would rather make do than take all of that apart, learn from my mistakes. Somebody really should. That was uncalled for. Okay, binding clips on the binding, especially near the corners, helps. Don't worry, spoiler alert, I'm not going to make you watch me put binding clips on all 4 of these. And I can't remember if I said it already. These are going to finish to about 4 3/4 square, which is a great size for my giant coffee cup. And now I'm super fast yet still very slow sewing the edges of this binding down. Now I'm sewing on the edge of the binding, so it's got a little bit of lip there, but I like that. So yep, see, all of them have binding clips on them. You're welcome. Didn't waste anybody's time with making you watch all of that like I make you. I know, I say the weirdest things. This is why I should be supervised more often. We're going to quickly go around, semi-quickly, okay, kind of slowly. All these coasters, back tacking at the beginning, and look at that. Camera angle changed. I don't know that it's any better, but it'll get hit more. I'm fairly certain. Back tack at the end. I'll cut all these strings, these threads off when I finish. Yeah, I really hit the camera a lot. I'm sorry. Round and round. Now we have 4 coasters, old windmill pattern. You can see some of the points point one way, some go the other way. I appreciate you joining me on this 9th day of the Holiday Hop 2022. Don't forget to visit my friends Melissa, who's Practically Creative, and Sylvia at You and Me FPP. Have a great day. Be the light you hope to see in others.